As I said in my last video, we're getting close to the October State of the Game update. I expect a lot of rehashing of the big events that have already occurred this month, but maybe with some luck we can get some guidance on Terraria's development for the various consoles. It's all a great way to escape from this presidential election drama, don't you think? And thanks to all of you who tipped me off about Discord updates from the developers. You guys are often my eyes and my ears, so thank you. There has been, as I indicated, some commentary from the developers, specifically from Loki of Relogic, on the Terraria Discord this week. Let's start with this back and forth and the video that resulted from it. Paimon the Food wrote, DR Studios forgot Block Swap on mobile, and Torch God. Loki was there to correct him with Block Swap and Torch God are both on mobile. Here, I shot a quick vid for you, even used a gamepad. And he shared this just to prove once and for all that those two things are in fact present in mobile 1.4. So I'm not sure what was going on with Paimon's game, but trust me, those things are in mobile 1.4. Loki also fielded a question about the Switch edition of Terraria. It got started with Toad, who wrote, "Is there a specific release date for Journey's End on Switch?" There probably isn't, but I thought I would ask. No harm in trying, right? Loki's answer was, "There is not as of yet, sorry." But that was not the end of it. Power Strike Nova wrote, "Loki, I was wondering, will Nintendo 1.4 port come out with the Xbox and PlayStation 1.4 port?" And Loki's answer to that was, "I suspect Switch will be a bit behind Xbox and PlayStation, primarily because of the extra layers of complexity in regards to touch and Joy-Con, and the whole docked-undocked thing. But the mobile gamepad hybrid control scheme on mobile now will shortcut that a lot versus how long it took to get touch and Joy-Con support right with version 1.3. So that's the blessing and the curse, I suppose, of having a unique hybrid console like the Switch. As far as any other timing commentary, well, Loki wrote this. Saw a bunch of references to my giving a timing window for Xbox over the last 2 weeks. To be clear, I did no such thing other than to say I don't have a time frame to give. Been a lot of good scoping discussions this week to sort out how to get from here to there. It's a lot more work than you think. No doubt. Morningstar writes, they said it would be released by the end of 2020. Loki responded to that with, that was a guesstimate from Senix months ago, and mobile took a touch longer than planned, so we will see. All I know is it will be ready when DR has it at the appropriate level of awesomeness. That isn't saying it will, if it will or will not be by the end of the year, just pointing out the context of that old statement. Moonrune asked about an issue with the mobile 1.4 edition of Terraria. They wrote, "Please help, and also why do we need to open the inventory to see the events texts?" Evidently, notifications about events happening in the game aren't necessarily that obvious. Well, Loki's answer to that was, known issue, fixed in 14051, which you should get next week. For now, turn off the tutorial light bulb in settings and this issue will cease to occur. It was missed because, well, most testers already have tutorials off. I know I do, having logged a few hundred hours on mobile since 1.3. Next, 2 users asked about wet bombs. This guy and Muffet Floor wrote respectively, "Okay Loki, thanks, and will the next patch fix dry and wet bombs?" And Loki, what about the wet bombs issue? Loki was there with, should be fixed in 14051 as well, provided it passes testing. But yeah, DR told me fix this for that water bomb issue. It impacts a few other things too, are in 14051. So it sounds like a hotfix patch will arrive for mobile users next week. Pretty quick turnaround, really. Power Strike Nova was back with Loki. Will you guys work on mod support for console so we can play Calamity and other mods? And Loki, who has fielded a lot of these types of questions, had a long reply. He wrote, Mods outside of PC are not at all straightforward. 1. We have to have Tmod Loader remade for non-PC. 2. Have to have specific mods remade for non-PC. And 3. Have to have first party, such as Sony, Microsoft, etc., review and approve just like as if the mod were a standalone game and supported as such. So it is something I definitely dream about, but not an easy road at all. We have to focus on getting the vanilla stuff done before we can get on to the more exotic flavors, such as this. Wink. Man, imagine just a few of the bigger mods getting approved. I know they probably won't be in a position to approve every mod, but as the user asked, something like Calamity, that would be huge. Turtle Dev writes, "Hey Loki, I know 1.4 just came out on mobile, but you have a release date for 1.4.1. Loki's answer was, we do not have a 1.4.1 release date. Focus is on fixing what needs fixing for 1.4, and then consoles will be the focus for a time, as shared in the last state of the game." A user was asking about a quirk with the mobile control's alternate attack. Geo, the Meku gamer, writes, "Loki, I have an issue with OOA weapons because the secondary attack was set to the interact button, and the attack would only happen if you weren't around anything set to that button." Loki replied with, "Geo, the broader issue is that mobile has no right click. This impacts things like secondary fire weapons and even this food plate issue. So the most clean approach is to use fire and interact as two action buttons, so the odds of seeing some oddities around those things are not unexpected." Geo was back with, "That makes sense, since I tried using the secondary attack with the Sky Dragon's Fury, and it would just open a door, or an inventory or chest." Loki's response to that was, "Well, Geo, that button is going to default to the chest unless we put in something to force it not to. It's all control conflicts. The game has to have a default to guess your intent." Some people were having problems with pylons in Mobile 1.4. The issues weren't clear, but Loki shared this image from his map and gave his 2 cents on the issue. He wrote, "I have a pylon that is well over 100 tiles away from my second housed NPC, and it works fine." So I'm not sure what's going on with some of your pylons, but Loki seems pretty convinced that it's working for him at least, so I don't know really what's going on there. Sokirk56 writes, "Is there a crossplay with 1.4.05 PC?" Loki's answer to that was, "Crossplay is not currently officially supported, but we are really hoping to see it become a thing down the road. Let's hope." A familiar name, Pinhead Pat, wrote, "Do you guys have any plan to bring in retro lighting, now that we have color and trippy lighting?" Loki answered him with, "Not a priority, or not a high priority at the moment. Color and trippy lighting give 2 solid choices." Sorry about that. Looks like we're stuck with those for now, but the new colored lighting is pretty attractive. Terrible Copper writes, "But can we get the 1.4.1 update?" Loki's answer to that was, as expected, mobile 1.4 fixes and console 1.4 are next up. 1.4.1 will be later. So there you have it. More to come soon in the state of the game, no doubt, with the update probably arriving sometime later this week. I think it's a fitting conclusion to what's been a very busy month for us Terrarians. So stay tuned to the channel. As I said, I expect some news shortly, and hopefully you console users will get some kind of guideposts for where we're going from this point on. It sounds like the hotfix for mobile is going to come out next week, and maybe after that they can move on to console work. We'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, hope you're all doing well. Have a happy Halloween, and I'll see you in the next video.